Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at Raikou Eelektrik. This is actually the second time I record this because I babbled on for about 45 minutes and had games and stuff, but the sound wasn't on. So this was meant to be out on Friday. Hopefully you guys, hopefully this is worth the wait, I guess. So yeah, Raikou Eels is a deck that popped up since, I think, Virginia Regionals, and it's a pretty interesting deck that's made its spot in the format basically, and I think it's definitely a viable option. It has really good typing with Raikou to give it a decent Yveltal matchup. We have stuff to deal with Sableye Garbodor. We have a very strong Toad matchup. That's one of the strongest matchups we actually have, which is a rare thing to say. So I think overall its matchups are pretty strong in Expanded, and it's pretty simple. Mainly we try and be non-EX with just Raikou and Eelektrik spams, and win simple straight up prize races against stuff. So we also have decent options against Vespiquen and Flareon. Not the easiest of matchups, but we have stuff like Vest and Parallel City to try and make it a bit easier for us. So let's jump into the deck. So we have Raikou, 120 HP basic is very nice from the offset, gives us a decent starter, good lead Pokemon, and he also has the Shining Body to make him even more bulky. If he has a lightning attached, we reduce all damage done to ourselves by 20, so this is one of the early signs you can see to help us out against Seismitoad. Its damage output is going to be very poor from the offset. With Muscle Band, that's only 30 damage, so most of their output is basically coming from laser or nothing. So Raikou is going to give us a lot of turns against Seismitoad at the very least, before we basically we sit behind him and set up. His main attack is Thunder Lance. It's a familiar attack. It actually reads exactly the same as Keldeo's Secret Sword, but it's for lightning energy. So that's 50 base plus 20 more for each lightning energy attached to him. So with the prerequisite of 3 colorless, we can be doing 110 base, and of course we can commit more energy if we want to hit higher numbers. Most of the time though, however, because it's an eel build, we're just going to be committing the 3 for the most part. Sometimes we can overextend if it's going to help us reach KOs, of course, on stuff like Mega Pokemon, but most of the time just looking for the 2 shots is the best thing we can go for against EXs. And then 110's good numbers. It deals with Vespiquens, Flareons, all these other things, even Wobbuffets, I guess, in one shot, which is quite important for us. So good HP, decent ability, and a decent attack. These are all great combinations. The resistance to metal is not too relevant for Expanded right now. The weakness to fighting is actually fairly decent, because there aren't too many fighting decks around. I guess you could argue that Gallade is splash into a few things, but Gallade would one-hit us anyway, so that's not too big of an issue. So pairing with Raikou, we have a 4-4, very thick line of the Eels. Eelektrik, for those of you who haven't been playing since Noble Victories, his ability is Dynamotor, and this is exactly the same as the current Bronzong that we have, but once again, instead of Metal Energy, it's going to be recycling Lightnings. So we get to attach a Lightning Energy from our discard pile to one of our benched Pokemon. Pretty simple stuff, helps us recycle. Very nice. It means we can set up multiple Raikou each turn, basically. It gives us recovery against Sableye Garbodor. Of course, this is an ability, so we have to be very selective. Maybe we kill the Garbodor and then use Dynamotors to recover, or we use stuff like Tool Scrapper and then Dynamotor on to get these Raikous powered up, which is pretty nice. Of course, it's going to help us out against stuff like Yveltal for streaming these 3 energy attackers. So just in general, keeping us healthy, keeping our guys packed up with energy, because Raikou is fairly expensive to attack with, so we want to have a really thick line of these eels to continually have a Raikou on offer, so that's pretty cool. He's also a 90 HP, so that combos nicely with Level Ball. The 2 retreat cost is a bit of an issue, but you can see we have Keldeo and we have 3 Floatstone and AZ, so there's plenty of ways to move out of this guy. Quick note on the Tynamo, because there's a few you could choose from. I've gone for the 40 HP one. It's just the safest option, because there are some snipers around. So having the 40 HP is nice, and this one has the Thunder Wave attack, which we've seen on a few lower HP stuff. For a single Lightning, we do 10 and flip for Paralysis. Every now and then, that could be the difference between losing the game and being alive for a turn, so it's a good option to be aware of. So what are these EX Pokemon? You can see we play very few. Really, they just fit specific roles for different matchups. Like, you might be wanting to put Keldeo down in every single matchup, but you have to be aware this deck tries to win on prize trade alone, so Keldeo will only be coming down in very specific matchups, mainly ones that are very focused on Hypnotoxic Laser, stuff like Toad. and even Yveltal to an extent, I guess. And just you have to be aware that people are starting to play Silent Lab, even in like Yveltal decks, so Keldeo's not quite as good as he used to be, so we still have the 3 Floatstone and AZ to be to get around, but for very heavily focused status condition decks, we want to have the option to rush in and retreat and effectively have free retreat on everything, which is nice. So Keldeo's there, but a lot of the time you won't actually play him, he's just an option to have. The only other EX attacker that we're using in the deck is going to be Magnezone EX. 180 HP is on the high side for a regular EX, which is cool. And he has a couple of decent attacks. Electro Ball does 40 for DCE, effectively, although we don't play any double colourless energies. So it would have to be an attachment and an eel, or double eel, or something like that. To do a base of 40, that can kill Combees early on in the game, but it's rare. This guy is going to be using Electro Ball. It's all about his second attack, Dual Bullet. And it allows us to do 50 to 2 of our opponent's Pokemon, and that includes the bench. So what we're trying to do here is target bench Pokemon basically in 2 very specific matchups. Toad Bats is a matchup where, because the Raikou already reduces damage, if we can just deal with their bat line, they're basically never going to be able to get through a Raikou. So we want to use Dual Bullet to take 2 prizes straight away and deal with those bats while they're still Zubats, because it's very easy to kill them. And yeah, pick up those prizes really quick, lower our opponent's board state, and basically from there they can't deal with basically either this Magnezone or the Raikou that comes up afterwards. So that's pretty strong from us. And also this guy is really good for disrupting Vespiquen and Flareon decks all over again. Because he has this bulky side of HP, and we're also playing Assault Vests, not only does he take 2 prizes very early in the game in a matchup like that, it means we can get around stuff like Life Dew. It means that we can deal with the things when they're a lower form, so effectively they're getting less Pokemon in the discard pile, like naturally based on prizes. Because like if you got 2 prizes by killing a Vespiquen and then a Flareon, there's 4 Pokemon in the ditch. Here, if you're using Dual Bullet, you're just taking the 2 prizes, but there's only 2 going into the discard pile, so it's a bit better economically that way for you. Forces them to overextend hugely, because, you know, effectively 220 HP with this Assault Vest. That can go up to 240 if we have Parallel City facing their way. It's going to be very difficult for them to take a knockout on this Magnezone. And because they have to recommit these Eevees and these Combees, most of the time Dual Bullet will get you 3 to 4 prizes. So it's a real big swing card in that matchup specifically. In other matchups he's not so good, but those 2 are so important that I feel like it's worth having in here. We have Compressor anyway and like high Ultra Ball and Comp search counts, so we can dump him when he's not needed. It's not too big of a deal. But in those matchups specifically, getting an Assault Vest on a Magnezone is just such a strong board state in both those matchups. We are playing 1 Shaymin-EX, just the 1, and no Jirachi, which is an option you could go for. You could try and flip-flop either one, because we are playing 2 level balls. It does kind of make more sense to play Jirachi, but Shaymin's got the more powerful ability in my opinion. So just having the option to set up when we need to really extend. Again, I must stress, we're trying to be non-EX for as long as the game as possible, basically. Force our opponent to go through, you know, 5 or 6 Raikous, and then, you know, they're Lysandering the Eels. But basically, trying to not commit an EX is how we win a lot of our games. So Shaymin, again, is just a backup if we haven't drawn a supporter turn 1, but we do have something like Ultra Ball. We could look for Shaymin and try and draw some more cards. Or if, once again, we are trying to extend. Against stuff like Toad, you're quite happy to throw down Shaymins because you want to get into Assault Vests and dig for Eels as quickly as possible while we have the use of trainers. So in certain situations, you will drop the Shaymin. But in matchups like Vespiquen and Flareon specifically, the only EX that we'll bench is Magnezone for the most part, unless we are unfortunate and start with one of these other ones. So just 1 Shaymin, I think it's the correct option because we're trying to make it hard for our opponent to take all these prizes. So onto the trainers. 1 computer search, it can grab us any card, that's pretty strong, and it can also be an activator to get these lightnings in the discard pile to help our eel work. We are playing 1 Super Rod. Super Rod recycles these eels. It means that we can use, you know, we can force our opponent to actually hit through 6 physical Raikus, so that's very awesome. And matchups where they're going to target the eel lines, we can recover with Super Rod. There are even times if we are under heavy ability lock for most of the game, we can recycle lightning energy if need be. We do have 2 Battle Compressor. It's really nice synergy, of course, with VS Seeker to get some of these supported in the discard for early game, and it's going to work nicely with these lightnings to recycle eels. And we can also dump these EX Pokemon if we don't need them. Most of the time Magnezone is going to hit the ditch unless it's one of those matchups I mentioned earlier, so there we go. For Ball Search, we're playing 2 Level Ball. Level Ball searches out the full Eel line, and it's very important to flood the board of these as quickly as possible because we want to be attacking turn 2 with Raikou. So similarly, we're playing 4 Ultra Ball for pretty much the same reason. Ultra Ball can find us anything in the deck, so it's a bit more versatile. And again, we don't really mind the discard too much if there's lightnings in the hand, stuff like that. We can happily dump and get our Pokemon and get going. We're also playing 2 Evo Soda. This is my way around Archeops. I prefer Evo Soda in this deck specifically because if you use something like Wobbuffet or Hex Maniac, then we can't use Dynamotor on the turn that we evolve. So basically, even though we're getting around the Archeops, we're still a turn slow. So Evo Soda is the proactive way to get around Archeops in those matchups. Really, because Yveltal isn't the most difficult matchup at all. If you really only need to develop 1 or 2 Eels to win that game. So because they don't have the opportunity to Lysandre kill Eels, because most of the time Raikou is going to be powered up anyway, at least close to being set up. So they don't have the luxury of Lysandring up Electrics. They're going to hope that they can get turn 1 Archeops and that sticks on the board. So I'm happy with just the 2 Evo Soda, because there'll be situations when your opponent doesn't get Archeops. There's a lot of matchups where your opponent won't get Archeops. So I think 2 is the correct number for Evo Soda to get around Archeops enough in the matchups where it is actually played. So there we go. We are playing 2 Tool Scrapper. This is to deal with Garbodor a lot of the time. It's also going to help us get around stuff like Life Dew. It's going to help us get around Fighting Fury Belt, which is popping up now in a few decks, because 110... like normally it's 2-shotting even though they do have Fury Belts, but there'll be chunky things that we can't get around, so belts can help. Getting rid of belts is important, but mainly the reason why we play 2 is to actually get around Sableye Garbodor a couple of times. So the idea is to Tool Scrap both Garbodor and the Life Dew at once, then you can get some Dynamotors, get your energy back, get attacking, take a KO that turn, and then from there we have stuff like 4 VS Seeker and 2 Lysandre. The slightly higher count of Lysandre I believe is necessary so that we can actually take enough prizes against Sableye Garbodor. So I think the 2 Tool Scrapper is the correct number for sure. I've seen some people go down to 1 and 1 Zerosic. I think that's also a decent play, so that's an option for you. Personally, I just like the aggression of Tool Scrapper. You can use other supporters in the turn all at once, and it means you don't strain on VS Seekers in that matchup specifically. So I like 2 Tool Scrapper. 4 VS Seeker, pretty simple stuff really. 1 AZ. AZ is another card that's quite important against Sableye Garbodor, because they're going to try and Lysandre stall stuff, because we are fairly reliant on our Electrics. Having only 8 basic lightning means that we basically need to commit 1 or sometimes even 2 Eels in that matchup. So when we can Tool Scrapper, we can get those abilities, get our energy straight back onto the boards, and then we're taking a couple of prizes from there at the very least, and force them to get stuff like Crushing Hammer. So AZ is going to be important to pick up these Eels when they are Lysandre targets, because it's pretty obvious that they will be. We do have the 3 Float Stone at the same time, so be aware of that, but Sableye Garbodors can always just Tool Scrapper and Lysandre on the same turn with double puzzle. So AZ is going to help us pick up these things. It can also help us pick up these EXs if we start with them, for one thing, or if we want to get the use out of something like Shaymin and then use AZ to pick it back up, it can be nice. So there we go. We are playing 1 Colress. A lot of things, especially Rayquaza, has been popping up lately, which is a matchup that we really enjoy, of course, because we are a lightning type. Obviously, a lot of people are playing good old Altaria in their Rayquazas, but normally it's a 1-1 line because people are trying to be quick. And some don't even play it at all. So getting Colress value is huge right now. So I really like the addition of 1, because there's plenty of decks that are going to flood the board of Pokemon. All these Archie decks and stuff normally go for, you know, Jirachi, Shaymin, and then their Archie target at the very least, and then they have to throw in their attackers on the bench as well, of course. So Colress is often getting value, especially because we have, you know, 6 Ball Search cards early on. We're going to hit these Pokemon early. Colress gets value from the offset, basically. We are playing 2 Lysandre, like I say. I think we need the 2 count for Sableye Garb. You could go down to 1 and have 1 Zerosic. That could be another potential cut. But I think 2 Tool Scrapper and 1 Zerosic is kind of overkill. So I prefer just the 2 Lysandre, because it's slightly more versatile. Helps us race against stuff like Vespiquen Flareon by killing their Shaymins, because oftentimes they need to commit to their bench more than us to find, you know, continuous stage 1s. Whereas our stage 1s are not the ones going down each turn. They're just basic Pokemon getting killed each turn. So having the Lysandres to deal with Shaymin is kind of nice, or whatever else we can pick off, basically. Like I say, we 2-shot a lot of things, so Often we need to pick up something off the bench if they've retreated out of there. We are playing 2N, not the fastest of decks. It's normally turn 3 to 4 that we're taking our initial prizes, so N's often going to get us value. It's going to help slow down these decks like Vespiquen and Flareon, like Archeostoise, I guess, to an extent. Archeostoise is probably our hardest matchup. I really don't have much for Archeostoise in this deck. I think that's the biggest downfall of this deck, to be honest. So yeah, if you want to play techs for Archeostoise, I can't really think of many. But yeah, we just basically take the loss because it's not too big right now, because it's got weaknesses like almost around the board. So I think Archeostoise is dropping in play, so this has the opportunity to do well. So yeah, N helps us against aggressive decks. For Juniper, pretty simple stuff, really good draw supporter. Not much else to say about that. So here are our stadiums. I remember the Virginia Regionals players, they played 4 Rough Seas. So I guess I'll start with Rough Seas. I'm playing 2 in here. 2 is pretty decent. I like having a stadium. Basically, this is the way that they auto won Toad. So you can see why they had 4 Rough Seas. So they literally sit there with a Raikou, attach, 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 and just let the Rough Seas do the work. They're never getting one hit. Basically, if they do go Verbank Laser, you just Rough Seas that damage straight off, and then they need to either find another stadium or they don't, and then your poison is basically counteracted by Rough Seas. So the idea is one Raikou will basically just sweep through their entire deck. So that's why they had the really overkill count of 4 Rough Seas, I feel. I'm happy with a total of 3 stadiums. The reason why I cut 1 Rough Seas for a Parallel is because Parallel does the reduction of 20 in the Toad matchup, so it's essentially the same as Rough Seas. I guess you could argue it's not, because if you get an Assault Vest on early, it's slightly weaker, because then the Parallel's doing nothing other than minusing 10 if they have Muscle Band. But if we're up against the Toad, it's slightly weaker. But Parallel City is way more versatile than the Rough Seas. So Rough Seas specifically only good for being a counter stadium and against Toad. But the Parallel is way more diverse, very versatile card. Again, it can be a way that we can get rid of our EX Pokemon, which is nice. And it's going to make it very more difficult for Vespiquen and Flareon to do more damage. And it's another activator that slows down the Toad, which gives us more time to commit into our dudes and get going. So it gives our guys effectively even more HP against a whole bunch of things. And it's going to be an issue for a whole bunch of things as well. Just limiting their bench if it's maybe an Archeops deck. It can really hurt their turn 1 Archie chances, because a lot of Yveltals are just playing Parallel as their only stadium, or they're playing 1 to 2 Parallel of their own, and then they're not able to put them down, and then they can't lower the hand size, and they've missed an Archies because of it, so, or Maxies, I mean. So Parallel City is good for that, and I think it's the more versatile. I think you could go to 3 Rough Seas. I think 3 is definitely the correct number of stadiums, just to have enough counters to stuff like Verbank. But I'm happy with Parallel at the moment. If you're struggling with Toad, probably go back to 3 Rough Seas, but I like the versatility of Parallel in here. So next up we have 3 Assault Vests. This is another crucial element of the deck. So Raikou has 120, we minus 20 more with the Shining Body, and then with Assault Vest we effectively have 180 HP, so EX based HP for a non-EX is a beautiful thing, especially because we're doing decent numbers at the same time. This is going to be fantastic for Toad once again, like I was saying. So the minus 20 reduction here, then the minus 40 from the vest means they do 0. So that's absolutely phenomenal. Just really perfect numbers. They literally are reliant solely on laser, and we have counter stadiums to that to slow them down even further. So they need bat drops or lasers basically to do anything against Raikou, and that's really tough for them. So that's pretty epic for us. Again, it's going to be nice against stuff like Vespiquen and Flareon. Either they need to hit Blacksmiths very early, or they need to discard a whole bunch very early on. And because we're non-EX, oftentimes they commit so early just to keep up with the prize trade, they actually run out of dudes by the end of the game because they've had to go through physically 6 Pokemon. And that's like, the deck doesn't like doing that from the offset unless it's similar to itself where it has low HP. So they commit low early and they're getting KOs turn after turn. Here they have to KO a high HP Pokemon, but they have to get through a lot of them at the same time. So Assault Vest makes that all possible. Again, it's a super strong play, putting one of those on Magnezone, again for Toad, Bats, and for Vespi Flareon. Very important. It's also really nice against Yveltal. It's already a strong matchup for you, but it means that they can't do stuff like Y-Cyclone plus Laser Bank and stuff like that to deal with us. So we force heavy Evil Balls, basically, and it makes the Darkrai a whole lot worse as well. So many reasons why Vest is really strong. So we are playing the 3 Float Stone. I like the slightly high count. I guess many decks that play Keldeo get away with 2, but I think having the 3 gives the option to not put the Keldeo down in certain matchups, like I was saying. And also just getting 1 on the Eel alone is often, good enough, to be honest. I like the slightly higher count as well because Sableye Garbodor is often going to just scrap them off every time. So having replacements onto, your chunky stuff like the Eels in the matchups where you can't really bench too much because they'll punish you with Lysandre stall. It's important to have the higher count of Flowstone for a good bit of freedom of movement. Finally, 8 Lightning Energy. We can recycle with the Eel, so I think that's probably the correct number. So let's jump into a game now. Should be good fun. And my voice is dying, so I need to take a swig quickly. So we have a game, which is very cool. So we win the flip as well. That's really nice. It's going to help us evolve up into our Eels a bit quicker. That's normally the turn 1 priority for this deck. Just get as many Eels down as possible. We have a fairly slow hand, but we have the Floatstone for this Tynamo, so hopefully we can protect it. 3 Vest in our opening hand. That's pretty ugly. So we see a Seismitoad. Bit of a shame that we have to throw away all these Vests. I want to draw into some more of these. Do I commit a Lightning Energy here? I think it's actually fine to do that. Because it might be that I need to just sack something else and then use Tynamo next turn. Yeah, see, our hand is really slow here. So we're actually going to be vesting up a Tynamo, I think, here. Is that correct? I could just put Parallel down. Yeah, that does the same thing. We're obviously going to VS Seeker back the N. But we're in a bit of a pickle early on. We're lowering our own bench size, but against Toad we don't want to bench much anyway, so this is in an attempt to protect the Tynamo on the bench. I could even leave this one active. No, I like this one. Very slow start. I could put the Vest on just to put it on. It's an awkward one. I could even Vest just a Scrapper and then get 2 cards out of the hand for N to be stronger. It's super cute, but it could actually be correct here. I think we're in such a bad state, I need to do this. Super weird, but it gets cards out of the hand for N. So there is DCE, there's Muscle Band. Still hasn't got the 1-hit. There's the laser, so he can 1-hit this Tynamo. Gets the Tails, it's irrelevant. Oh, he got the Verbank anyway. There's Latios. We could have been facing a Donk had he had gone first and been able to move into this guy. So it looks to be Totina, I guess. If it's teching the Latios, I imagine it's playing Totina, unless he's playing actually basic Psychics, which would really surprise me. So he knows our hand is basically N, although he still chooses not to play anything else down. So, alright, so we have the option here. We could not evolve and go for a paralysis play as like our last resort, but I think getting the Eel down is important. Now I'm going to save our attachment in case we find something else. A whole bunch of items. That's pretty ugly. Do I put down Magnezone as just a big chunky thing while we draw more cards? I think that is correct. Let's strand our own Magnezone active here. Let him take a whole bunch of hits because our hand is dead right now. So, very slow start against Toad. It's not what you want to see. But, if we're able to develop Raikou, I still feel confident in this matchup. So it's definitely Totina. Choosing to commit another DCE makes me think he's going to Sycamore this turn. Training Smells into a laser, which is not fun. So we want to see definitely a supporter next turn. Like Sycamore would be the ideal, but also something like Rough Seas is a good out here. Even Raikou is not bad. Keldeo. Do I rush in? I think I do. Not a bad top deck. Could be way worse. Could be any item. So we'll just do that. Hopefully Rough Seas can help us out. And again, forces another laser out of him. We've seen 2 already. Ultra Ball for a Shaymin most likely. Wow, he does actually play basic Psychic Energy. What a guy. So there is Shaymin setting himself up. Interesting that he has Hydreigon for the free retreat rather than Keldeo Floatstone of his own. There is a Delinquent. I really don't mind that. That's going to help us win the Stadium War. We'll get rid of items that we don't need. Could have been anything there, but if he is going to break the lock, VS Seeker's the most powerful card there. Feels weird sacrificing a Comp Search over something else, but it's correct in this situation. Lightning Energy. Let's commit to the active. Because at least that way we can get out of the hand and get Dynamotors when this does go down, if it goes down. Or we have the option to retreat if we find more energy. Stall out even more. We see a Tool Scrapper getting rid of our little old Floatstone. Sad times. Really awkward dead draw. Turn 1. We see a Crushing Hammer. Where's the... it's Tails anyway. We see DCE commit to a Shaymin. Wow. It's going to make our Lysandre plays look kind of nice here. Like I could Lysandre up the Hydreigon quite effectively if we're able to hit one of those cards. We do play 2 in the deck, bear in mind. So very slow, but I really think we can still win this game. The one thing we have against this deck is time. As long as we draw into things, we have a lot of time against this deck to just set up and win a long game 1. Vest is no help to us, so we just pass. We don't want to see Verbank Laser. There's a Muscle Band onto Giratina. I would like Giratina to come in if he wants to be greedy. Is this a Comp Search, I think? Comp Search always does that weird glitch of turning the opponent's discard pile backwards. Super Scoop Up, gets heads. Whoa! He's let us straight back into this game with a very, very greedy Giratina play. Very questionable at best. Okay. I think Tynamo is the best thing to throw up here. We can pay retreat out of him if we need to, or we could go for Thunder Wave next turn. 2 tools, but we have the VS Seeker for N. And this could really slow him down. I mean, he's got all the energy he wants, but for later on we could do nice Lysandre stalls. And finally we hit Raikou. So we're going to go for Dynamotor for sure. We're going to compress away some item cards. Because there's no more digging that we can do this turn. Actually, I guess the Evo Sodas are more dead than Ultra Balls. Because Ultra Balls could be Shaymins if he continues to use Chaos Wheel next turn. So those are the most dead cards I think in the deck. Could have debatably got rid of more Lightning Energy. But I feel like I'm going for Thunder Wave this turn. Do I use the Rod here? No. Thunder Wave. Oh boy. Oh baby. So we've seen already that he plays Super Scoop Ups, so he's going to have to dig for some of those. We see Verbank, Trainer's Mail. Should have mailed first unless he knows what he's got in his hand. There's VS Seeker, so he's got out of the... oh boy, he could be super greedy and go for Delinquent here. That would be pretty bad. But no, I think he's going for Juniper here. He wants to attack this turn for sure. Whoa, that is so greedy. This greedy little guy, man. I mean, our hand is terrible anyway. He can have that. But he's basically allowing us a turn to do anything here. And Floatstone is a card. That's a card for sure. Okay. Retreat out of Tynamo, Dynamo to here. Floatstone. No, that's bad. I think we're still floating here. And then it's just Thunderwave again. So sad that we couldn't capitalize on it. Oh, we're riding our luck here, boys. Fantastic. Man, we've done pretty badly in terms of draw. We've only hit one supporter all game. Oh no, two supporters. So what are our outs here? If he still can't get out of here, man. That delinquent was super greedy. Oh, he's got N. So he's giving us a hand of 6, which I like. Only getting 3 for himself, so he's not too high a chance that he can get out of this. We see a hammer, get tails. And just a pass. Wow, we're back. We're so back in this game now. Okay. So Ultra Ball's happening for sure. So we did that so we could get the first lightning in the discard pile. Then we pay retreat. Then we manual. And then we eel. Then we set up. Now we have another Raikou. That's fantastic for us. So good. Can't use Lysandre even though I'd love to race. Do I still play the VS Seeker just for something like AZ? I think AZ is the thing I want to take here in case he wants to like Lysandre stall on anything. And it means I could pick up something this turn. Would I pick up Magnezone or Shaymin? Because like he can Lysandre kill both, but this one can be healed by Rough Seas later on. So I think Shaymin's the thing to pick up here. And it can give us draw next turn if I don't want to use a Juniper. Final question is, do I want to play Floatstone? I think that's also a yes. I could dig for Vests. But we've gone through 2. Our deck is 13 and we've not taken a prize yet. So I think we just need to straight up attack here. I think it's a sort of a shady thing to do. If we play down the Shaymin again, and we miss, and then like next turn I want to use Juniper, then we're in such a bad like position time wise in terms of how many cards left in deck. But it's looking good now. I don't want to see like a Lysandre would be painful still. Could have held AZ to play around that, I guess. But he might just want to race, like Lysandre kill this. I think attacking the Raikou is not correct here, if he can. But I mean, his hand is 3. So, there is Lysandre. Okay, yeah, he's going for the racing option. So there's Chaos Wheel. So we definitely have to deal with this Giratina this turn. That's like guaranteed. But we can't drop another prize all game. No pressure. I think we hold everything here and just... Like, what would I want to search for other than another like Lysandre target, basically? Don't have any Dynamotors available, so we'll just take the prizes. The one thing that's kind of awkward now is if this is another Lysandre, because we have no way of moving this. I think my AZ was maybe incorrect. Because like, yeah, that's weird. Now, like, had I held AZ, this could be sucked up. and he would have wasted another Lysandre. He's gone through 1 Lysandre, 2 VS. But he's gone into Shaymin. Whoa. So it's not going to be a Lysandre stall play, unless he's feeling very lucky. Times like this where I like the third float stone a lot. Okay. I think we're in good shape now. So he wants to get his Shaymins off the board to buy himself an extra turn. But, still weird. It really doesn't take much for us to come back into this game, but I think that AZ, I'm going to be very frustrated if the AZ play loses me this game. We do see a VS Seeker. It's got to be Lysandre for this. So bad. It was so obvious for me to not hold that as well. So we've not seen a rough seas all game. That's kind of worrying. You see a DC onto this Shaymin. So I really want a playable card from this. Oh, damn. Let's scout the deck quickly. So we need to consecutively draw into our lightning energy. Our deck is 11. We could go down to 10, 7, down to 3 this turn. Or we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could draw 7 and put 1, 2, 3, 4 back in. But that's also like a sloppy Lysandre target. I think I'm taking nothing here and then just playing Juniper. We got to dig for these lightning energy. Rough Seas is also good. How did we miss? Oh my goodness. So bad for us. That's such a shame. We need them to be the next 2 cards exactly. Oh man. Can't believe I got punished by that AZ. So annoying. I only have myself to blame. Where's this vest going? I mean, this, like, because we know our last floatstone's prized, it doesn't lose me anything. Oh no, it's not prized, it's on our dude. What am I saying? It's here. That's super bad for us. DDE, wow. Shaymin for 2. See a laser, it's not going to affect maths, I don't think. The poison's going to be bad for us. But we can't retreat anyway next turn. Oh man. Still beat myself up over AZ. Such a bad decision. Because he's played very poorly as well. He's honestly let us back into this game and we've still blown it. Kinda sucks. Our start was abysmal. Okay, fast raid for the big 0 thanks to the vest. Energy. AZ. AZ's a card. Right. Well, that's good. The BM Rough Seas. Eel comes up to hand and is definitely not being played. So 2 of our next 3 top decks are lightning. So if he goes for a Lysandre stall again, like it would have to be here, and then we can still get out of it. So we just need to make sure we can win in the next 3 turns. Like super scoop ups, flips now could be the thing that loses us the game. Both Lysandre's gone. All 4 VS Seekers. So yeah, I think if he gets a Super Scoop up, or if he just retreats out of this, attacks there, finds another chunky thing, I think that's how he can also win. It's just whether he sees it. We see energy go on to Hydreigon. Here's a Super Scoop up. Does get heads. Picks up the Toad. Is he attacking with Light Pulse this turn? Whoa, he scooped. He definitely could have won that game. Okay, so let's find another one, because that was a really weird game. That was a really awful start. He completely had control of the game, and then he threw it for himself. And then he still could have won, and then he scooped. Wow. There I am saying Toad's an easy matchup, and we barely scraped a very, very not optimal player. Feels good. So we'll have one more game with this. Hopefully it's a better player, but a similar caliber of deck. It's good seeing standard stuff at least. So here we go. Flipping up the coin, going for heads, losing the flip. All I want now is a better start than last game. One mulligan. And looks like we're up against most likely Sablegarb with Puzzle and Rod and Compressor. Could also just be a Yveltal deck that plays Puzzle. Oh, look at this start, man. It's another 3 of in our opening hand. Pokemon Y. So yeah, our benches, we have to be very conservative. Yeah, Trubbish. Whoa, that's the wrong Trubbish. If this is Sablegarb, it should be the other Trubbish. Unless he's worried about Latios Stonks. So there's a laser. There's a Trick Shovel, so it's Sablegarb, for sure. Oh, man. It's pretty awkward for us. See a Shaymin for 2. Not the strongest start from our opponent. There's a Robo Sub. Interesting. Gets this, gets him 2 cards, but you can see how hilariously bad our hand is. Is it double puzzle? Single puzzle. Sometimes Sablegarb will play single puzzles just to get it in the discard early. So Poison's going to do its things. Get some damage on us. There's a Colress, which is nice. I think I played 1 Raikou and Colress for 3. That's nice. That's really nice. That's like the best I could have hoped for. Plays into a mad Delinquent though, if he has it. Needs to hit Stadium as well. But I think his priority is going to be Floatstone, Sableye, Energy anyway. There's a Crushing Hammer. Gets a Tails, which is good for us. There's Sableye. Life Dew. Garbodor. And Juniper. Very strong. Very, very strong indeed. Another Crushing Hammer comes down. Also gets Tails. We're doing well so far. Stadium. Trick Shovel. So it plays a high count of Shovel, but it also plays Laser Bank. Huh. Confronted at all angles. There's a Vest. It does nothing, so I just discard it, I think. Because this could be a Floatstone on these guys, so. The only damage is coming from lasers, so. And we can bounce that for now, which is very strong. We can also find ourselves our first Lysandre target, also known as Tynamo. I think I hold everything else. We have to play around Delinquent at all times with this deck. So Delinquent's actually really good for us next turn. We can go duh, and go for Colress next turn, so not too shabby. Also, I want to wait till he moves Garbodor to get a Tool Scrapper. Oh, we get End. End out of a decent hand for sure. Getting to another Rough Seas though, which is good. There is Floatstone for Garb. And the first junk hunt, it looks like. Only one puzzle in the discard makes Sableye sad. Could always have one in hand though. Oh, he drops a Bunnelby. And there is the junk hunt. Shovel and Hammer. So he doesn't have the puzzle in hand. So we won't be taking a prize this turn, but we'll be killing a Sableye. And because he doesn't have the puzzle yet, it's actually quite good to deal with like energy because they play such a low count. So Thunderlance is fine. Not going to play any other cards. There's no need. Not going to Evo Soda yet because it's a chunkier retreat cost. And I'm not getting any value yet. So we wait. There's a Crushing Hammer that he's cycled back. Gets the heads. Another Crushing Hammer. Gets tails. He's 1 for 4 so far. Sad times. He decides to get rid of a lightning energy for us. Nice guy. Let me see a Juniper. See a Battle Compressor. I imagine there'll be a puzzle going into discard at this point. As long as he has an energy, of course. But what does he recycle here? I guess he has to recycle a Sableye and a Dark next turn, depending on his hand. Because we're going to try and pressure with Raikou every single turn, he has to keep cycling Sableye and energy rather than cycling stuff like, you know, stadiums, shovels, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully, see a Keldeo hit the discard. We don't mind that at all. I wouldn't have benched it anyway. But we're starting to put up the pressure here. He did find an energy, so he's got the junk hunt for those double puzzles this turn. And the loop is going, but we do have N if I wish to play it. And he does have 2 puzzle in hand, so it's a good time to... Always a good time to end when he's got a double puzzle. Especially because we can kill like his only dude. I'm going to go into Eelektrik now, even though he does have Garbodor developed. Because there are lightnings in the discard, and if we're using an N, like, I think it's fine. Won't bench anything else, no need. That's all fine. I'll save Floatstone for when I need it. We have the Scrapper if I need to start using Dynamo to have AZ. Everything's looking pretty strong here. And we have Lysandre as well to deal with Garbodor next turn, as long as he doesn't get rid of our energy. So first prize of the game taken, hooray. There's a Crushing Hammer, does get a heads. So we haven't got the knockout. There's a Flare Grunt as well, so we definitely haven't got the knockout on Garbodor this turn. But does he have anything else? Because he played Flare Grunt makes me think he has a good hand, or he has a very dead hand. VS Seeker. Forget this. That's no good. It's really terrible. Because now I just play down my hand. Goes into Robot. Seems fine. Okay. I think we're committing our first Floatstone here. And this might be Tool Scrapper turn number 1. It's definitely this. I don't need to commit the Float Stone. Although he has Getsis, so I do. Okay, so I do need to play these this turn for sure. To play around Getsis, right? Okay. So that's gone. So we have the Eel. Do I Float Stone and do it on this guy? Because we do have AZ anyway, and it gets out of poison. So yes. Simple answers. We have, I think, everything we need in hand. Don't want to commit this VS Seeker, even if he does have Getsis. So, have your turn, buddy. There is Getsis for 1. Very weak. If his hand was bad last turn, that's got to feel pretty bad. I think he needs to develop a tool again this turn. Many Garbodor players only play 2 Float Stone, and if that's the case, we're in luck. Does he have double puzzle? No, just a reshuffle of the top decks, so that's good for us. Just a pass. Wow, we're in great shape now. Dynamotor. Unfortunately, we can't Lysandre kill this turn. Has to be an AZ. But that's fine. Putting the pressure on still. We picked up a VS Seeker off the top anyway, so the Getsis didn't affect us basically. We see the buddy. Oh, buddy. Could go for aggressive discards to try and race us, or he could be recycling some things here. You see another Trubbish at the bench. I think that's incorrect. Unless he's playing like an N. Which, you know, he's seen our hand, so he could be doing that. Yeah, if he's using Juniper, that Trubbish definitely should have gone. Unless he's... Oh no, he's seen the Lysandre, so I guess it makes sense. So recycling some Sableye and a Dark Energy before the Juniper seems pretty strong. That's what he's digging for, basically. He also wants to hit Float Stone for sure. He's replaced our Stadium. Another Laser. Does he play 2? Wow, at least 2 Laser. There's the energy for Bunnelby. So what's it going to be? Recycle some good things or get rid of some cards? Get rid of some energy. We don't mind that at all. That's fine. So with a hand size of 3, do I deal with the bunny now? Assuming you won't have energy. And hold Lysandre. How many energy in our discard pile? 3. So Dynamite is going to himself this turn. I think I just hold this. I think I just take the prize. We want to save Lysandres because they are quite precious. When we can't get around stuff like Focus Sash. We take some more damage of poison, which is a worry for next turn. It means we're going to have to dig next turn most likely. Double Garbodor developed. No tool yet though. He does have the energy. And Confuse Ray. Wow. We would have been forced into a retreat anyway. That's really weird. Okay. AZ might be the play I go for here. Just trying to think where I want to Dynamo to. If it's to himself first. So I can retreat later. Yeah. And it means I can put pressure on with attacks next turn if I want to. The laser is forcing annoying good resources out of our hand, which is very annoying for us. Otherwise, I could have gone for like a Lysandre play, even just a stall. Shame we haven't hit more of our Rough Seas. This is another good matchup for Rough Seas. I'm starting to think I want 3 rather than the parallels. In case of N, maybe bench 1? No. Another really long game. You guys are going to be sat around forever. But 2 important matchups, I think you can agree. So without any tool, he can get another Shaymin or a Jirachi here. He was holding Lysandre, so it's good we didn't bench that. Just another Sableye. And a Junk Hunt, it looks like. Yep. Double puzzle, boys. Time for an N? No. No. Oh, actually, N almost mills him. We need to keep an eye on that. That might be a way that we win this game. In a couple of top decks time, N might win us the game. If he's not playing around it. Because we can force his hand to be 6. Top deck 7. Wow, that could be good. Because he might be too greedy next turn and not go for a... he want to develop like Floatstone rather than Super Rod. So there you go. Give him a puzzle here. Another Sableye hits the bench. Again, I don't agree with. Because that's a card out of his deck now. If I was to end him. So what we're going to see. Floatstone is almost guaranteed. It's just what his other card is. Could be a supporter. Could be like a Lysandre. Could be a Grunt. Could be a Getsis even. If he's feeling super greedy. There's Life Dew and Floatstone. Super greedy. Because look, all that gets played. I can put him down to 1. No, not 1 card. Because he's still getting 2 back here. Is there any other Floatstones in his discard pile? No Floatstones in his discard. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And no AZ either. So it's going to be a manual attachment. And a stall play. Go for it, buddy. See what he's going to puzzle for. Better be good. Otherwise you're in trouble, mate. So some good conservative play from us has won us this game so far. I think we're going to win this. We still have plenty of deck left. Trick Shovel and Crushing Hammer. Those are not the correct things for this moment in time. Oh, he got rid of a Scrapper. Sad times. He's a card away from milling himself. Compressor will never be played. Pass turn. Go on, mate. You know you want to play that Floatstone that you just top decked. Pass. As soon as he plays a card, we win. And if he doesn't play a card, then we win anyway, because he can't move Garbodor. Oh, Floatstone. Save you for later. Gotta play AZ if you're playing Sableye Garb. It's a fact. Oh, poor Garbodor. Sad times. He might have had bad prizes. He might have an AZ and 2 Floatstones in there. Does VSCK help me? Nope. Right, let's see what his plan is. Or if we just win. I'd be sad if Floatstone's his bottom card. I'd be sad for him. Okay, good game. Nice. 2 wins. 2 scoops, actually. Although we actually legitimately won the last game. So yeah, we won in really weird fashions in those games. But there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed. That was the deck. And it's been Joe from OmniPoke. So I'll see you guys next time.